I'll start off with a sinking minnow today. I don't usually use sinking minnows in creeks like this unless it's pretty shallow, just because the suspending ones tend to do a little bit better. But these sink fairly slow. It's a lot like that spearhead I used in a previous video. It sinks slow enough that you don't really have to keep it moving and worry about it hitting the bottom. It'll fall slow, so you can use it kind of like a suspending jerk bait that you're just twitching fast. This one is a Great Hunting flatside 45. I think it weighs about 3-ish grams. It casts really well on this setup. Something hit it right there. See a little bitty guy following it. Apologize if it's loud right here. I am right in between two lanes of a very busy road. Ooh, there we go. Oh, came off right there. Something was following it up. I think it was a decent green sunfish. Oh, it's getting hit right there. Not really going for it anymore. And I had a couple of them on back there. It just didn't stay hooked. Whew. A little deep right there. One reason that I'm starting with this specific lure is I knew this area was a little shallower and flatter. It's really good water to use one of these sinking minnows. These are labeled as a fast sink, but it's really not. They're not very heavy. They really don't sink that fast. You have plenty of time to work it. And in creeks like this, with water like this, where it's really wide and shallow, I like a minnow like this. I'm gonna work this side first. It is the shallow side, but there's a cut back through there where it's a little deeper. I'm just gonna work that rock ledge a little bit before I move into that side. And they are trying hard, a bunch of little ones. Yeah, right out through here, I think it gets pretty deep. It's been a while since I've been out here. I can see it gets pretty deep right out in front of me too. I'm just gonna go straight up the middle. See what's hanging out in the pool. It's not sunny through here. There's a lot of cover. I don't think fish are gonna be too afraid to be hanging out all over it. I like spots like this because you can really just wind up and let it rip. There we go. What is that? It's an all right green sunfish. I bet he is stuffed full of little crawfish. Oh, look at that guy. He is a fatty. I don't see any crawfish sticking out of his throat. a lot of times you'll see them with antenna or claws sticking out of their throat. And, he was a decent one, fought hard. Kind of scouting a good path to take. I don't typically like to get up over my shorts in spots like this. I like to keep my phone in my pocket. Yeah, not too deep. It gets pretty deep out around that tree. I'd expect a little bit more in a hole like this. I think I'm gonna switch to another spinner. We haven't had rain in a little while, but it is still cloudy in these deeper sections. Now this is just a plain Jane mepps aglia number 1. I have rebuilt it with the thicker wire with the spinner head, so I don't need to use a swivel on it. Being able to just have your see that? This is why I use snaps, because I like my leader to be a certain length. I am pretty OCD about stuff like that, probably unnecessarily so, but you will get enough stuff like this where you'll get a little cut. I can feel that, just a little cut in that leader. And I'm running a 7-pound leader, and I don't know, with this cut what it'll break at, but I don't trust it. I like my lures. Some of these lures I put a lot of time in, and I also don't like to lose fish and have them just swimming around with a lure or a hook in their mouth. So I'm gonna replace that and put a fresh leader on there. In the spot that I am in right now, there's not really any land unless I walk downstream and potentially spook everything I'm about to encounter, or walk back through that deeper hole, which I don't necessarily want to do. And that is where a sling pack like this and having your tackle organized is very, very handy. I change my leaders in the water all the time because you have everything right here. This is my terminal box. I do keep a lot of spare hooks in sizes that I use. I keep some barbless hooks in sizes that I use, so if I get into a trout area where you're not allowed to have barbs, I can just switch them out real fast and switch them back when I'm done. If I want to switch something out for trebles, I've got some trebles, barbless and regular in there. I've got some spare drift hooks, getting a little low, I need to tie some more. I don't use that side a lot, but it is worth its weight in gold when you need it. On this side, I just keep some spare leader, I keep some split ring pliers, some braid scissors, a nickel for my my reel seat. It uses about a nickel size slot on the fastener. But having everything organized, easy to get to, in a sling pack that you can just kind of set in front of you and work on, it makes everything a whole lot easier. I always, for my leader knots, I'll tie a 7-wrap. I believe it's an Albright. It might be an Alberto. I go 7 wraps up, and then I go 7 wraps back down. And I know that there are stronger knots, but this one is easy to tie. I have tied it for years. I've never had an issue with it. So, I changed something that works pretty well. It's definitely small enough to go through these micro guides. And I don't even know if it'll show up. I'll leave the tiniest tag in on the braid side, and then on the fluoro side, I will typically cut it just as close as I can without cutting that knot. And every once in a while I do cut the knot, and it is very annoying, but I want it flush. I don't want any resistance going through those guides, at least as little as I can have. And that is a nice smooth knot. It's not going to catch on the guides. It's going to be strong. It's going to be easy to tie, and that's why I run it. Now for the length of my leader, I don't want a really long leader. I want a good 5.5 feet. I'm right under 6 foot, so I'll typically just do my wingspan and give myself a couple inches extra to tie a knot or two if I mess it up, and clip that off. Now for my snap, I'll always tie that on with a Palomar knot. Is it the strongest? I don't know. I know back in the day it used to be. It might be kind of old school now, I don't know. But that was always just a gold standard for braid and fluoro, and pretty much any lines other than mono. But I believe it used to test, you know, as close to 100% as any other knot for mono too. I don't know that. I just vaguely remember something about it always being the strongest, but it's, again, easy to tie, and I'll never forget it. So that's the one I go with. I don't leave much of a tag end on this either. I cut it pretty close. Just a couple millimeters is typically all I leave. You know, I've never had one come undone, so having a short tag end like that, it satisfies my OCD. And just like that, a super reliable, super simple system. It definitely takes a lot more time to do it that way, versus just going up on land and taking everything out. But it is nice to not have to. You can just kind of stand where you are, and it gives the fish a chance to recover. If you've spooked them a little bit, you know, sitting still for 5-10 minutes while you're retying your leader, a lot of times it'll give those fish time to forget. Let's see if they want this mepps. Well, the little ones do. I felt about 50 smacks on the way back. Nothing got hooked. Well, it's a dangerous game to play with a treble hook casting that close to cover. But something like a mepps is probably the easiest thing in my box to replace. And all I have to do is rebuild it with the swivel head. Well, I think it is just a lot of small fish in here. Well, one of them finally got hooked. Not in the mouth, obviously. No way you could have eaten that hook. Oop. There he goes. You know, it is a lot shallower over by this tree than I realized. The deeper spot was out here. I think right back by that tree it's a little deeper. Oh. See if I can just pitch one right in there. Just getting hammered to death by little tiny ones. Yeah, let's keep it moving. Sun's not going to be down for another hour or so. But I want to have a decent amount of time with some of these bigger pools up here. We're going to come into a pond that it opens up into here in a little bit. Well, they are not shy. They're hitting it right in that flow. Nothing big enough to get hooked though. This little guy. Places like this are where a bait finesse setup really come in handy, just to sneak it into all these little spots with tons of hang-ups. Oh, he's a little better. He looks smaller. I got him up here and he's not that bad. This is a decent adult long ear. Whoop, there he goes. That one looked like a bass. A little deeper right here under this pipe. There we go. Something in there. Another green. Oop. He wasn't hooked good. He's not bleeding or anything though. That'd be all right. Is that the same green? I mean, this is not a big hole. Does he have any, I don't see any marks on the bottom of his, we hooked that other one on the bottom. I guess it's a different one. See that little pond up ahead. It's about 15 till 7. Probably not gonna get dark till after about 8:30, so we're looking pretty good. I want to get through this stretch with enough time to kind of sit and think when we get to a much deeper hole up here. I know it changes. And the last time I was out here, it was just a little too deep. And I didn't feel like swimming, and the sun was about to go down and I didn't have a lot of time to think about it. Curious how that spot is this year. Well, all the trash that's washed in here aside, look at this little pond. It's just right in the middle of town, surrounded by trees. Creek runs right into it. I don't think many people know about this. Areas like this, you really get to just haul off and chuck it, and you'll start to see your spool through the line. There are guys that keep a lot less line on theirs than I do. I probably keep about 40-50 yards. This is relatively new line, and I'll typically start, 45, something like that, 45 yards of line, and then I'll fish it down a little bit and replace it. You don't need a lot. You also don't want a lot either. With these setups, that line is just more rotational weight, and you really don't need all that extra rotational weight because you don't really have the room for fish to run. If you got 40 yards of line, where's the fish gonna go? I mean, this pond, it's a decent size for a hole in a creek, but there's not 50 yards of water for a fish to run in. Any line over 30-40 yards you're not really ever going to use, and it's just extra rotational weight, which really limits your reel's performance. This is a very surprising spot because this is a big hole. Like I said, this is a little pond, and this could hold some monsters. In a creek, you've got fresh water constantly coming in and out of this thing, so you can hold way more fish and way bigger fish in a pond like this fed by a creek than you could a pond just in the ground. And I would expect there to be a lot better fish in here. I'm not seeing much. I see something decent down there right in front of me, but I don't even know. It's murky. I couldn't tell you if that was a bass or some kind of sucker or what. This would be a cool spot later in the year to come out to early and fish topwater. Oh, there's something. Nothing big, but I haven't even seen anything big in this hole. About that same size of green sunfish. A whole lot of them this size. This is another nice big open spot. It's not as big as that one we were just at, but it does get deep back there. The whole school of fish behind that. What is that? It feels tiny. Looks tiny too. Oh, there he goes. Creeks are weird. You could be in a pretty small hole and pull a pretty good bass out of it. Or you could be in a big, open, deep area like this, and it's just packed full of 4-inch, 5-inch fish. You just never know. That was a bass looking at that. See if he'll Ooh. He turned around to follow it. He's right in front of me, but very uninterested in this. If he's not gonna hit a mepps, I don't think I'm gonna put on a jerk bait and get him either. It's funny watching them grab it. You can see that spinner in the water because it's bright and shiny, and you watch it just, it's coming at you, and then it just goes to the side, and they let it go, and it goes back this way, and they're constantly hitting it. But this place is just packed full of tiny fish. That was big enough. It was kind of big enough. Oh, right in the leaf. That's fine. I didn't want to fish that spot. There we go. I try to stop these just shy when I remember. With a jerkbait or a minnow with single hooks, I try to aim right at structure and just kind of smack it right at the bottom. And I'll try that with these and then forget that it's got a treble hook right on the back. I'll get out in the middle and try to pull one right down this center of the channel. This spot I know gets deep, and I've climbed out back there before because the sun was going down and I really didn't feel like swimming. I don't know if it got that deep, but the time I was here it was pretty murky and I didn't want to find out. I just know it was deep. Now I see that on the other side, it's looking pretty good in terms of being able to cross it. Boy, the base of that tree just looks like a really good spot. I'm gonna go on that other side and see if I can't put a few right around that tree. So at least right here, it's not as deep as I thought it was, or it has gotten filled in this year. All these rains bringing in more gravel. I see it is pretty deep right here in front of me. But it looks like out on the other side of this tree and on this side, it's not too bad. It's definitely not shallow, but it's doable. I'm not gonna have to swim. There's kind of a dam up there. That's what's keeping this area so deep. I don't know how much further this goes to the next takeout, so I didn't want to set in that hole and fish too much. I kind of wanted to just move through to this side and work it a little bit. Not the best way to go about it, but for the sake of time and being out here late in the afternoon, that's just a better option right now. Oh. This mepps is kind of a double-edged sword. It is a very good lure, but the hook is quite a bit bigger than some of my others, and I'm not able to hook a lot of these fish. So we're leaving a lot of catches out right now, but as much attention as it's getting, I don't want to take it off. I'm confident, you know, if a hungry bass sees this, he's gonna smoke it. Now, I don't think I've been in this section before. I know I kind of came back this way from another spot, but I don't think I made it this far. Ooh, that was an awful cast. Ooh, on a long cast. What is that? Another green sunfish. He's a decent one. A little better than the ones in those deeper holes. It's always fun to get a fish on a long cast in spots like this. You don't really get a lot of spots where you can make a long cast. I think right up there is my get out spot. Oh, his head came out of the water right after it. Yeah, this is my spot to get out of here. So, you know what? We still got a good amount of light left. Let's, just for the sake of catching some fish, let's put one of those Smith spoons back on, because I know they will absolutely destroy it. Look at this spoon. I've already knocked some of the candy off up here, but that is a cool looking spoon. It is it's gold with red candy, and I used to paint cars and do some custom paint here and there, and normally when you see red candy paint, it is over a silver base. But there's something about candy red over gold I have just always really liked. It just gives it this richness that a silver base doesn't. It's just a pretty little spoon. I don't know what was hitting that, but he looked more than big enough to eat that whole thing. Yes, something quite a bit bigger. You know, I may have been a little overconfident in the spoon. It's not getting hit any more than the mepps was, and they're not hooking up either. I'll leave it on though. I like these spoons. I typically start with one, and if it's slow, I'll go back to one. That's just kind of been my thing ever since I started creek fishing, where these little spoons, they seem to work as good as any, you know, secret weapon type bait. But you know, they're nice. You can have a ton of them in a small box. You know, there's not soft plastic that's gonna fall off, and you know, gonna get bitten off and swallowed by the fish. It's just a nice clean way to have a good variety of very, very effective lures. I don't know if you can see how many fish are just going nuts around that, but they're swarming it. You see me mostly use these Smith spoons. I think in another video I was using that forest spoon for a little bit, but really my favorite is a Valken High Burst, and I've got a couple in the bigger size in my box. I haven't been using it lately because I'm very familiar with those, and I'm not very familiar with these Smith spoons, so I'm just trying to get used to it. It's a new thing, and it seems to be doing really well. Now I've got quite a few more High Burst and an Astrar and a few other Valken spoons that I really like in my smaller box. And I used to bring all those out here, but the more I have been kind of getting used to flick casting, the more I appreciate a little more weight. And these spoons I'm using now are about twice the weight of those other Valkens that I've got, and they really don't get hit any less. You'll still hook small fish on these and still get the same amount of bites. So I'm not using as many spoons as I normally would because I'm kind of sticking around that 3 gram mark for spoons right now. But you don't need many, you know. A good silver and a gold, it's about all you need. You know, a good matte color. I've got one that's just been a little killer that's kind of a tan color on the bottom and a gunmetal color on top. It's a Valken Sheila. That spoon is just non-stop. That Forest Mew spoon that is kind of olive green with the orange stripe down the side has just been a killer too. So a few good, you know, matte colors and natural colors, and a silver and a gold. That's plenty of variety, and you'll catch anything you need to with those. There we go. Right here at the end. He's not the prettiest, and he's not the biggest, but he is the last one of the day, and that makes him special. I tell you what, he is kind of special. Look at that guy. He is not super red, but look at the top. He has just got this dark red strip. That's kind of a cool looking long ear. I don't know if he's a hybrid with something to give him that coloration, but definitely different looking. See you later. Well, that was a decent little long ear, and we are at a good spot to get out of the creek, so I think that'll about do it for this afternoon.